Hi guys, welcome back. So what a win for Ireland, 29-20. And not just what a win, but what a performance. It was sensational. Now against Japan, they were brilliant. But could they bring the same level of flow and offloads and speed and variation to their attack against New Zealand? Yes, they could. Absolutely brilliant. But after 10 minutes, it was fairly even. No points on the board. New Zealand had the first good chance with a brilliant crossfield kick from Barrett to Jordan. Looks like try time, but then Kelleher intercepts, and what a game Kelleher had. Absolutely Ireland's number one hooker now. Now I'm going to go through this game, get a feel of the game, but also put in my comments and also my analysis as well, so try and mix it up 50-50. And from this point on, about 12 minutes in, that's when the tide turned really, and Ireland started to turn the screw, and they didn't really look back. New Zealand obviously scored a couple of times out of nothing really. They defended well, but it was Ireland on top for the whole game pretty much. Anyway, they vary their point of attack so well. They switch from offloading to round the corner carries to a few kicks. It keeps the defence guessing. Really tricky stuff. And New Zealand are looking to disrupt Sexton, stop that flow of the Irish attack, and it works a little bit as they do get to Sexton, but Taylor concedes a yellow card. Now, straight from that yellow card, Ireland go to a 5-metre maul, and it's good defence from New Zealand. They did defend well, especially when their backs were against the wall on the line. But the Irish carries were really effective. They made plenty of ground, and there were acres of space out to the left. Keenan, lovely pass on the move, long pass to Lowe, great finish in the corner. 5-0, what a great start for Ireland, off and running, and they didn't really look back. And just making a note, after 15 minutes, Ireland look easily New Zealand's equals, if not their betters at the moment. There's none of this fear of New Zealand at all. That aura of New Zealand really has well and truly gone of recent times. You've got to keep an eye on them because they can score at any point, but there's definitely no fear of them at all. Anyway, there's a ruck infringement from Ireland, which gets New Zealand on the board, 5-3. New Zealand's defence is definitely stepping up. They're making some dominant tackles. They're dispersing dangerous Irish attack. But the attack just keeps on coming. The Irish scrum, looking very strong. Porter and Furlong, what a combination in the propping stakes. Definitely better than their New Zealand counterparts all over the park, to be honest. Doris looking great. Nice hold-up tackle and turnover. Get a penalty, obviously they're against 7 men, go through a couple of 5-metre line-outs, but really good defence from New Zealand. You've got to say, goodness me, they dug in hard and fought, and they were always in it, in the scoreboard at least. And on that yellow card period, it was just a 2-point loss to New Zealand, so not too bad. And it's just a great game of Irish attack versus New Zealand defence at the moment. New Zealand sharp in defence, Ireland really good in attack. What a great game to watch. The sort of thing you want to see where both sides are playing well. And it's just that variation is great from Ireland, but they do have to be a bit careful. Their players can get isolated, but because they're playing so quickly, their ruck speed's so high, it means New Zealanders are just backpedaling that little bit, which means they're a little bit slower getting to the ruck. Although when they do get to the ruck, they are very good indeed. Anyway, half an hour in, and it's really all Ireland. Kelleher, Furlong just on fire. Furlong looks like he's scored, but there's a double movement earlier in the play from Kelleher, so that's a bit of a shame, but it looks like it's coming. And New Zealand are in that box. They're keeping them in the box, but they're a jack in the box, and if you let them out, they're going to score. And I'd literally just written that line. When they do score, it's a bit too easy, to be honest. It's one of Ireland's few mistakes they made. Papali'i peels around the back of a line out, goes through a gap a bit too easily, feeds back to Taylor. He goes over, and New Zealand go ahead against the run of play, 5-10. So that's what they can do in a blink of an eye. But Ireland don't take a backward step. They're straight back on the offensive and in command, controlling their phases all over New Zealand. The pace and the variation. Lowe goes 1 metre out. Pick and goes. Sexton 1 metre short. It's just brilliant defence again against brilliant attack. And they're just, pounding them. But New Zealand turn it over a couple of times in that phase of play to save themselves. Excellent stuff. New Zealand are hanging on for half-time, but they're ahead. Ireland muck up a line-out just at the end, and New Zealand actually go in ahead, 5-10, even though Ireland are the better team. So let's see what happens after that. And it's Ireland in the second half come flying out of the blocks. Exactly the same thing, completely on top in attack, flowing round the corners, loops, mixing up with direct play as well. And it's Kelleher who bashes over, unstoppable momentum, top try, 10-all, fairly bad missed conversion from Sexton, that's a shame. And then a crazy moment. I mean, this is comical, to be honest. Will Jordan thinks he might have knocked it on, but instead of just carrying on until the referee blows, he kind of stops and just gives up. Everyone else stops. No one's blown a whistle. The touch judge is kind of shrugging, going, I don't know what he's doing. The ref's like, I don't know what to do. Everyone stops, so let's just give a scrum to New Zealand and restart it. I've never really seen that, and it's just kind of epitomises New Zealand there, where things weren't going their way and it just wasn't clicking, and in that instant they just stopped and gave up, which is pretty criminal, to be honest. And it's Ireland that are back on the attack. New Zealand are getting more chances, but the handling is letting them down at key points. Ireland are not letting themselves down with their handling, and they're keeping the ball very well, going through loads of phases. And it's Doris who busts clean through and sprints straight under the post. Huge smile on his face, brilliant try, great line. That was a bit of a coming of age for Doris, I think. 17-10, so this is looking more like it, rewarding their dominance. New Zealand's handling is letting them down. Gibson Park puts in a massive 50-22. It's just all Ireland at the moment. And the Irish forwards' handling is particularly impressive. Even Ryan is getting in on the act. He did against Japan. He is now. What a difference a coaching philosophy makes, a bit of practice makes. These Irish forwards can handle. I think Joe Schmidt reportedly said once that they're not really good enough to play this sort of way, but clearly they are, or certainly the players they have now are indeed. A penalty to Ireland. They go ahead 20-10. And, it's looking quite, not easy for Ireland, but they are well on top at the moment. New Zealand, they aren't really dominating any area. That is probably their biggest concern. There's no area of this game where you said they are definitely better than Ireland. In defence, it was probably fairly equal. They were pretty good for sure. But scrum line out, no. Breakdown, pretty even. Attack, definitely not. So that's a massive worry for them, even though they kept the scoreboard tight. But if you give New Zealand a sniff, they do have the quality to score from nothing. And it's Will Jordan who, despite stopping play earlier, was their most dangerous player. Lovely little chip. Rieko Ioane regathers back to Jordan. Great try from nothing. They're back to 3 points, 20 points to 17. I mean, New Zealand are living on scraps here. But they're such good cooks at rugby, they can turn those scraps into a la carte cuisine at the blink of an eye, and they did there. It's getting hairy, it's getting tight, the crowd are going crazy. It's such a great atmosphere. But Ireland's players are not wilting under the pressure. Again, Ireland's forwards coming to the fore. Ryan linking up, Ringrose, really good play. Build some pressure, get a penalty, push a bit further ahead. 23-17. And finally, I think it's 66 minutes, New Zealand get a rare, sustained attack in the Irish 22, building some decent pressure, which they hadn't really done all game. And again, it's Jordan, the danger man, latching onto a nice chip through, goes to 1 metre out, couple of penalty advantages, and Akira Ioane slices through. It looks like it's a lovely try, but his brother Rieko just passes it forward. But Ireland aren't done. They just keep on attacking. They really didn't take the foot off the accelerator the whole game. So impressive. And their attack is just light years ahead of what it was last year. But they can't quite land that killer blow. It's getting tense. Lowe gets a great jackal, gives a 50-metre penalty shot to Carberry, who just sneaks it over. They go 6 points up, 26-20. But how many times have New Zealand thrown the ball away when they've had some sort of sniff of attack? They do it again here. Keenan intercepts a speculative Havili cross kick pass. I mean, surely Havili's time with the All Blacks is over. He didn't really have much impact at all. It's got to be Ireland's day. The crowd's going crazy, and yes, it is. Ireland pin New Zealand back in their own half. Peter Amani wins the penalty. They kick it 29-20. Everyone goes crazy. Epic performance. Now, literally everyone again on this Irish team performed well. You can't really pick out too many players. Doris got man of the match, well deserved. Thought Kelleher was outstanding as well. Sexton obviously controlled things before he went off. Just brilliant. Conway, for example, brilliant performances all round. New Zealand, still very dangerous. We know they are. They don't give up, but they couldn't get any control. Physically, not quite good enough. Set piece, not quite good enough. And handling, consistent good handling, not quite good enough. So pop all those comments below on what was a fantastic win for Ireland, and I will see you next time.